Our topic for today is about sustainable development and global food security towards a sustainable world. So, from the word sustainable development, it involves meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. And for the global food security within a sustainable world, it involves ensuring that all people have reliable access to sufficient, affordable, and nutritious food to meet their dietary needs. And for achieving this, it includes addressing issues like agricultural productivity, reducing food waste, improving distribution systems, promoting sustainable farming practices, and enhancing resilience to climate change and other challenges in the food system. So these are the topics that will be tackled by me and together with my groupmates. The world leading environmental problems, man-made pollution, catching up, climate change, combating global warming, and global food security. So if you live in Metro Cebu and travel to school or to work every day, the moment you step out of your home, you are already exposed to the most serious problem humanity faces today, the deteriorating state of the environment. So as you walk out of the gate, the fetid smell of uncollected garbage hits you, and you go near the trash bin, curious about what is causing that smell. You see rotting vegetables, a dead rat, and a bunch of whatnot packed in plastic. These three wastes are already indicative of some environmental problems. The vegetable ought to be added to a compost pile, the rat either buried or burned, to also get rid of the lice that might jump into the hair of the children playing nearby, and the plastics washed and recycled, because unlike the other two wastes, it cannot decompose. So you hopped in the first jeepney, and as it approaches Colon Street, the traffic slows down considerably. It is the normal Cebu morning traffic, where as the joke goes, the turtle can outpace even the fastest of motor vehicles. You look out of the window and see the smoke coming out of the diesel vehicles. And as you lift your head up to the sky, you see nothing but smog, courtesy of the cars and buses, as well as plants and several industrial sites located alongside the Mactan Channel. You notice the oil spots on the sea, not to mention the tons of influence, human and non-human wastes, floating alongside each other. In the city you lived in, there is a dying river, an increasingly poisonous sky, an enormous amount of waste, and a declining quality of life. Alright, so based on what I have read, it talks about environmental issues concerned, such as climate change, pollution, loss of biodiversity, and unsustainable resource consumption. So, tackling these challenges requires collective efforts, including conservation, sustainable practices, renewable energy adoption, and policy changes to mitigate and adapt to the impacts of human activity on our planet. So, just like what I've said, at this point, you recognize the ecological crisis happening around you and how the deterioration of the environment has destabilized population and species, raising the specter of extinction for some and the lesser quality of life for the survivors and their offspring. So here's our first topic, the world's leading environmental problems, which is mga environmental challenges nga gi-face sa ato ang kalibutan today. Alright, so the first environmental problem is the depredation caused by industrial and transportation toxins and plastic in the ground, the defiling of the sea, rivers, and water beds by oil spills and acid rain, the dumping of urban waste. So, in environmental terms, depredation often refers to the harmful actions or ang impacts nga caused natong mga katawhan or other organisms in ecosystem or natural resources. So, it can include activities such as overexploitation of natural resources, deforestation, very common, pollution, habitat destruction, and overhunting. So, all of which can lead to detrimental effects on the environment and wildlife. So next is the changes in global weather patterns, such as flash floods, extreme snowstorms, and the spread of deserts, and the surge in ocean and land temperature leading to a rise in sea levels as the polar ice caps melt because of the weather, plus the flooding of many lowlands area across the world. So, ang kining global weather patterns are undergoing significant changes due to various factors and primarily driven by human-induced climate change. So, some notable shifts include kay ang kanang mga changes ini kay kanang like for example pagtaas ng temperatura, rising temperature like kanang maka-experience na lang tanong nga grabe ka init sa ato ang panahon karon nga like for example ting-uwan kuno ron na ngano nga atong na-experience kay kanang ting-init man hinoon instead of ting-ulan ang taron like mo na mga changes nga kanang ni-occur gay sa kuan atong global weather patterns. Alright, so next is overpopulation. So ang kining overpopulation is a situation where the number of people in a particular area exceeds the carrying capacity of the environment. So nagkaanam siya kataas. So leading to various challenges. So napo din yung mga kanang mga challenges pa din nga gi-face ang kining pagtaas gani sa kuan number sa katawhan. So some key impacts of overpopulation include strain on resources. So it is increased population leads to higher demand for resources such as food, water, energy, and land, putting pressure on natural ecosystem and causing resource depletion. And next is environmental degradation. So kay taas kung nagataas man ang kuan number gani sa katawan, so overpopulation often results in habitat destruction, so like deforestation and pollution ug ang pag-loss sa biodiversity as more land is developed for housing, agriculture, and industry. Strategies like access to education, family planning, empowering women, promoting sustainable development, and ensuring equitable distribution of resources. So next is the exhaustion of the world's natural non-renewable resources, from oil reserves to mineral to potable water. So ang kining exhaustion of the world's natural renewable resources man siyang pressing concern due to their finite nature and the rate at which they are being consumed. So, ang kining non-renewable resources such as fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas, certain minerals like rare earth elements, and metals are being depleted faster than they can naturally replenish. So, these are the pictures of the world's leading environmental problems that I mentioned earlier. So, first is the depredation, changes in the global weather patterns, overpopulation, and lastly is the exhaustion of the world's natural non-renewable resources. Alright, so next is a waste disposal catastrophe. So, due to the excessive amount of waste from plastic to food packages to electronic waste, unloaded by communities in landfills, as well as on the ocean, and the dumping of nuclear waste. So, ang kining kuan waste disposal catastrophe. So, napod siya mga several factors contribute to this potential crisis. So, first is the environmental and health risk. So, ang improper waste disposal such as dumping in water bodies or mga open burning or inadequate treatment of hazardous waste poses significant environmental pollution and health risk. So, makadaot gyud siya, no? So, dili lang sa ato ang health but also to the environments. Labi na kay kanang morning atong gikapuy-an. So, to address the potential waste disposal catastrophe, proactive measures are necessary. So, why not mag-reduce, reuse, o recycle ta? So, encourage waste reduction at the source, promote recycling and reuse initiatives, and adopt sustainable consumption patterns to minimize waste generation. So, para pud mo listen gani ang mga waste gani. So, next is the destruction of million-year-old ecosystem and the loss of biodiversity. So, mo ni siya ang destruction of the coral reefs and massive deforestation. So, that have led to the extinction of particular species and the decline in the number of others. So ang kining kuan destruction of million-year-old world ecosystem and the loss of biodiversity are critical concern resulting from human activity. So ang kini siya kay mga hinungdan na pud ini kay tungod nato mga katawhan. So sa ato mga ginabuhat like mga negative kanang effects. So such as anang habitat destruction, so pag kanang ato ang pagsira sa kuan gani mga piloy-anan gani sa mga wild animals, sa mga species, climate change, pollution. So ang kining pollution, this is not just about kanang kuan air but also from sa soil, sa land, and deforestation. Like for example kanang nagkuan ka, nagtruso ka, din kanang imuhang gipangkaingin farming, and the over-exploitation of natural resources. So, this destruction and biodiversity loss have several significant impacts. So, napo din yung mga impacts, no? So, first is the loss of species. So, just like what I have said, sa loss of the biodiversity nga, kanang extinction of the species that have evolved over millions of years reduces biodiversity, weakening ecosystem and reducing the resilience to environmental changes. So, ang kuan napagini siya mga kuan sad kanang mga destruction, so like ang impact on human well-being. So biodiversity loss affects human well-being by reducing access to food sources, like for example kanang nag-deforestation ka, so ang kanang instead of kanang ang mga kahoy gani nga maka-benefit unta nato, like napaunta tay ma-harvest gani kay kanang wala na hinontay kanang wala ni nun tay access sa food gani kay tungod kay amo gani sa human activities ka mga negative, so nadawat ang atong environment, and and also clean water and ecosystem services critical for life and livelihoods. Alright, so next is the reduction of oxygen and the increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere because of the deforestation, resulting in the rise in ocean acidity by as much as 150% in the last 250 years. So, nganong magkuan na may reduction of oxygen? It's because of deforestation. No, kay ang 'di ba no, like for example katong kanang elementary pa ta naon ta nga kanang if ever mangutot kunuhay mo kay kanang dapat mo face ka sa kanang kuan sa mga plants kay ang atong carbon dioxide man na siya no, kanang ato ang gi-release gani nga kanang gas, so dapat ta kuno kay mo face da kuno ta sa kanang plants da kuno kay kanang mo na pud kay kanang gamit na siya sa kanang mga plants gani sa ilahang pag-produce gani paghimo gay sa ilahang kanang plant gani kay usa pud na ang carbon dioxide sa ilahang paghimo sa ilahang food, and then mo na ang i-exchange sa kanang plants is ang oxygen. So mo na nga kuan na pud day kanang environmental problems, which is the reduction of oxygen and the increase in carbon dioxide. So nagka-increase ang carbon dioxide kay tungod ra pud na sa kanang mga factories gani nga like naay kanang mga factories gani nga kanang like ilahang mga aso gani nga naay mga chemical nga mga gases nga moadto pud sa atmosphere. So since nagkuan man reduction of oxygen man, since wala na makalanghap gani sa kanang kuan kay nag-deforestation, so mo na nga nagi kanang environmental problems good, which is the reduction of oxygen and increase in carbon dioxide. So take a look for the examples para mas masabtan pa ninyo. So let's proceed to the depletion of the ozone layer, protecting the planet from the sun's deadly ultraviolet rays due to chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs in the atmosphere. So ang kining ozone layer located in the stratosphere plays a crucial role in shielding the earth from harmful UV or ang ultraviolet radiation from the sun. So when ODS, which is the ozone depleting substances, are released into the atmosphere, they reach the stratosphere and break down the ozone molecules, leading to the reduction in ozone concentration. So, this thinning of the ozone layer allows more ultraviolet radiation to penetrate the atmosphere, posing serious risk to human health and the environmental, including so na po din siya mga kanang risk po day ang kanang kung ano kining if mathin na gani ni ang ato ang ozone layer. So mo ni siya ang increased skin cancer and health risk. So higher level of UV radiation reaching the Earth's surface can lead to higher incidence of skin cancers, cataracts, and compromised immune system in humans. So next is the deadly acid rain as a result of fossil fuel combustion, toxic chemicals from erupting volcanoes, and the massive rotting vegetables filling up garbage dumps or left on the streets. So, ang kining ko acid rain kay napud siya mga environmental impact. So, acid rain damages forests, soils, and bodies of water, affecting aquatic life such as fish and amphibians. It can also harm plants by leaching nutrients from the soil and damaging leaves. So let's proceed to water pollution, arising from industrial and community waste residues seeping into underground water tables, rivers, and sea. So ang kining water pollutants refers to substances or contaminants that degrade the quality of water, so making it harmful or unsuitable for its intended use, whether for drinking, recreational, or sa agricultural or industrial purposes. So next is urban sprawls that continue to expand as a city turns into a megalopolis, destroying farmlands, increasing traffic gridlock, and making smog cloud a permanent urban fixture. So ang kining kanang sprawls di ay kay kanang ilagi gi-destroy gali ang mga farmlands kay nagpatayo kay ilagi patayo anog mga infrastructure. So this phenomenon is characterized by the continuous outward growth of cities and towns, leading to several environmental, social, and economic challenges. So, one of the environmental kanang challenges din kaya ang kanang land use and loss of open space. So, ang kining urban sprawls, mukonsume din siya large amount of land, leading to the conversion of natural landscapes, agricultural lands, and green space into urban infrastructure, and resulting in habitat loss and reduced biodiversity. So nasira po din ang kalikasan which is mo po din ang usa sa mga environmental problems. So here's the examples. So let's proceed to pandemics and other threats to public health arising from waste mixing with drinking water, polluted environments that become breeding grounds for mosquitoes, and disease-carrying rodents and pollution. So, nganong na kuan man pud ni siya sa environmental problems kay kini ba yang pandemics kay kanang nakakuan ba pud ni siya naka-cause ba pud nig mga economic downturns like kanang unemployment na ang supply chain disruption kay kanang wala na continue kay tungod atong pandemic, then naka-reduce pud siya sa economic growth. So, these effects can impede progress towards poverty reduction, decent work, and economic growth, and may exacerbate inequalities within and among nations. Then ang katupong about po sa education like na stop ba not literary nga na stop gid siya, which is modular na lang to siya So kanang school closures and disruption in education due to pandemics can hinder progress in providing quality education and affect children's learning outcomes. So, ang social distancing measures may also impact social interaction, mental health, and community cohesion. So, lastly is a radical alteration of food system because of genetic modifications in food production. So, to further elaborate, kindly take a look sa mga examples. So, let's proceed to man-made pollution. So, ang kining man-made pollution, kanang nag-involve ni siya pollution sa air, sa land, sa soil, o sa degradation. So, human exacerbate other natural environmental problems. In Saudi Arabia, sandstorms combined with combustion, exhaust from traffic, and industrial waste has led the World Health Organization to declare Riyadh as one of the most polluted cities in the world. So, ang kinideng Riyadh no kay na-declare gini siya no nga kanang pinakahugaw gani pinaka kanang hugaw nga cities sa tibuok kalibutan. So tungod ra pud guro ni sa ilaha ganing kanang mga sakyanan gay as what we can see sa picture gani nga kanang daghan guro ni mga sakyanan din niya pero grabe pud guro ilang mga sakyanan no, kay walay limpyo-limpyo like naka-contribute gid siya og kanang kadaot sa air. So, it is this human contribution that has become an immediate cause of worry. Coal fumes coming out of industries and settling down in surrounding areas contaminate 20% of China's soil, with the rice lands in Yunnan and Suzhou found to have heavy metals from the mines threatening the food supply. So, Greenpeace India reported that in 2015, air pollution in the country was its worst. So, magkakwanda ko no, magkagrabida ko no. So, aggravated by the Indian government's inadequate monitoring system. So, there are only 17 national air quality networks covering 89 cities across the continent. So, daghana no, pila ka continent, 7. So furthermore, 94% of Nigeria's population is exposed to air pollution that the WHO warned as reaching dangerous levels, while Gaborone, the capital of Botswana, is the seventh most polluted city in the world. So the emission of aerosols and other gases from car exhaust, burning of woods or garbage, indoor cooking, and diesel-fueled electric generators and petrochemical plants are projected to quadruple by 2030 rather. So ang kanideng man-made pollution nga akong gidiscuss is about ni siya sa air pollution. Alright, so waste coming out of coal, copper, and gold mines flowing out into the rivers and oceans is destroying sea life or permitting the bodies of those which survive with poison, so mercury and tuna prominently. So the biggest copper mine in Malanjangkhad in India discharges high levels of toxic heavy metals into water stream, while in China the tailings from the operation of the Shansai Mankiao Ecological Mining Ltd producing 12,000 tons of gold per year. So grabe daghan no? So have caused pollution and safety problems. So conditions in China have become very critical as the toxic byproducts of production processes are being produced much more rapidly than the earth can absorb. So meanwhile, for over a century, coal mines in West Virginia have pumped chemical-laden wastewater directly into the ground, where it can leach or leak into the water table and turn what had been drinkable. So, water into a poisonous cocktail of chemicals. So the system goes back generation and could soon render much of the state's water undrinkable. So in this discussion of man-made pollution, about na pud ni siya sa water pollution, what we can see no kay kanang sa base sa picture pa lang ganino kay kanang nangamatay ang mga isda, mga sea life. It's because of kanang man-made human activities gipollute ila gipoison ang kanang dagat. Alright, so pollution in West Africa has affected the atmospheric circulation system that controls everything from wind and temperature to rainfall across huge swaths of the region. So kanang grabe guro no ang ilahang mga kanang mga factory gani like ang mga chemical gases gani no nga kanang nahiabot sa atmosphere mo na kanang naagid siya kanang changes gani sa weather. So the Asian monsoon in turn had become the transport of polluted air into the stratosphere, and scientists are now linking Pacific storms to the spread of pollution in Asia. So aerosol is tagged the culprit in changing rainfall patterns in Asia and the Atlantic Ocean. So these climatic disruptions have similarly caused drought all over Asia and Africa and accelerated the pace of desertification in certain areas. So makakos po day siya og kanang drought no, like kanang si tawagan na sa Bisaya or sa Tagalog ganiya na kay tagtuyot. So 20 years ago, there were over 50,000 rivers in China. In 2013, as a result of climate change and controlled urban growth and rapid industrialization, 28,000 of these rivers had disappeared. So, out of 50,000 no, kay 28 na lang. So, how many kanang thousand man ang kanang rivers gani ang kanang nawagtang gani? So, it's because of the kanang pollution no, sa kanang tungod atong kanang grabe gurog mga kanang impact mo nang naka-cause siya drought, so na-disappeared ang uban no rivers. So here's the picture. So grabe gid kaayo no ang ilahang kanang ang air pollution gani nga makaapekto gid siya sa kanang atmospheric circulation sa atong system. So people's health has been severely compromised. So an archive article in the journal Scientific American blamed the pollution for contributing to more than 500,000 premature deaths each year and the cost of hundreds of billions of dollars. So grabe no, kanang tungod ra gani pollution no kay nakakontribute siya kanang damage gani sa kanang mga premature gani, like nahinoy kanang mga nangamatay hinuon nga kanang mga bata. So the International Agency for Research on Cancer blamed air pollution for 223,000 lung cancer deaths in 2010. So grabe daghana no, kanang daghan kayo ang naapektuhan gani kanang tungod ining air pollution, nagka-lung cancer. So in Indonesia and Malaysia, the link between forest fires and mortality had been well established. So the aforementioned coal mining in West Virginia has also made people sick, some with rare cancers, little kids with kidney stones, and premature deaths, and children born with congenital disabilities and adults having shorter life expectancy. So grabe gid ilang mga air pollution diri ano sa kanang sa ilahang lugar. So grabe po day gurog mga chemical kay kanang ang ilaha ganing kanang makapekto naman gid sa kanang health gid sa tao, like makakon siya cancer na magka-kidney stone pag yun na ang kanang napag yung mga premature deaths. So ang ilaha guro diri ang mga kanang factories or mga chemical nga gipanggamit no kay grabe gurong mga isog no kay kanang mukuan magid siya health problems. So it has been the poor who are most severely affected by this environmental problem. So ang kanang maapektuhan pud day nino kay kanang ang mas kanang malabian gani kay ang mga pobre pud day nga mga katawhan kay kanang unsaon man nga dili man sila makadali-dali og paadto sa hospital kay para ma-prevent na siya nga kuan. So syempre maapektuhan gid ilahang kuan kay wala ra man sila kanang ikakaya gani, pero kato mga dato so naman sila kanang ambag sa kanang or may kaya, so ma-prevent yun tayo nila. So their low income and poverty already put them at a disadvantage by not having the resource to afford good health care. So as what I have said no, to live in a polluted areas, to eat healthy food, etc. So dili gid sila maka-afford gud no kanang makakaon man lang gani og mga healthy foods, din kanang makapa-check up man lang gani kay tungod sila ka pobre. So mo nang kanang ang maapektuhan gid sila ini nga kanang environmental problems. So in the United States, as Yale University research team studying areas with high levels of pollution observed that the greater the concentration of Hispanics, Asians, African Americans, or poor residents in an area, the more likely that dangerous compounds such as vanadium, nitrates, and zinc are in the mix of the fine particles they breathe. So 5,200 in India, the studies on adult health revealed that 46 in the Delhi and 56% of Calcutta have impaired lung function due to air pollution. So grabe giday kayo. Alright, so ay na pud sa China. So in China, the toxicity of the soil has raised concern over food security and the health of the most vulnerable, especially the peasant communities and those living in factory cities. So in 2006, 160 acres of land in Zenma, China was badly poisoned by cadmium. Two people died and 150 were known to be poisoned. The entire village was abandoned. Hong Kong faces the same problem. So, ang diri pod nga man-made pollution no kay kanang it talks about kanang soil pollution. So, ang ilahang kayutaan so na poison. So, let's proceed to Metropolitan Manila. So, 37% of 4 million people have the population lived in slum communities. So, mo ni sila ang kanang mga walagay Pinoy-anan gani areas where the effect of urban environmental problems and threats of climate change are also most pronounced due to their hazardous location, poor air pollution, and solid waste management, weak disaster risk management, and limiting coping strategies of households. Kabantay mo ng mga squatter nga naa sa kanang mga urban area. So, unhealthy environment depends poverty, increase the vulnerability of both the poor and non-poor living in slums, and excludes the slum poor from growth. One of the major ironies of urban pollution is that the necessities that the poor has access to are also the sources of the problem. So the main workhorse of the public transport system is the bus. However, because it runs mainly on diesel fuel, it is now considered one of the largest contributors to environmental pollution problem worldwide. So daghan na may mga buses no diri sa kanang Philippines na this problem is expected to worsen as the middle classes and the elites buy more cars and as the road system are improved to give people more chance to travel. So nagkanindot naman ng daan. So kini pud kita pud nga mga kasagaran pud sa mga katawhan pud kay isigpalit pud sila og mga sakyanan which is ang kana pud intaw ng tambutso sana mintaw tag limpyo or ilalimpyo-limpyuhan kay para dili siya makapekto sa ato ang atmosphere nga dili ma-pollutant ang air. So the other mode of transportation that the poor can afford is the motorbike. So mora maginino kanang mga motor mora maning ma-afford na to nga mga pobre no. So ang kato mga high class kato mga kanang may kaya so maka-afford sila mga buses, mga sakyanan. So also called the 2 and 3-wheeled vehicles. According to the Center for Science and Environmental in Delhi, India, two-wheelers form a staggering 75% to 80% of the traffic in most Asian cities. So motorbikes burn oil and gasoline or emit more smoke, carbon monoxide, hydrocarbons, and particulate matter than the gas-only four-stroke engines found in newer motorcycles. So grabe giday no? Kanang na mo kuan pa siya, imit pa siya kanang daghan nga aso like carbon monoxide, gases, mga hydrocarbons. So grabe makadaot giday siya sa ato ang kuan atmosphere like mapollutant giday ang atong air. So finally, adding to this predicament in this proliferation of diesel-run cars, these vehicles usually command a lower price because of their durability and low operating costs. So kani siya kay kanang mga baratuhon ra pud no nga kuan di pud ta ka judge. So and operating costs and hence affordable to the middle class. So kanang ma-afford rin ni so mo ni ang makaya pud nga kanang sa mga poor in town like just like what I have said sa akong may kaya ka, so imo ma-afford katog yung mga kanang mga four wheels. So they also release 4 times the toxic pollution as the buses. So same as the buses sad, ang kini mas more on gyud niyang mga motorbikes daw. Syempre kuan ra gyud siya kanang affordable ra siya no, na kanang lower price na. Ang iya po yung durability to kay kanang low operating cost pa gyud siya. So kanang grabe po din siya o kanang mo emit yung smoke no, o carbon monoxide, hydrocarbons na sanglit ang atong atmosphere is na destroy. So it is a man-made pollution gihapon no, kanang human activities ra pud nga makasira sa atong kalikasan. Ug kita ra pud nga mga katawhan ang maapektuhan. So that would be all for my part. So may I have Rika Uwano to discuss the kanang next topic.